I am Non-Monogamous Mark from Non-Monogamous Lifestyles Association, here to talk to you about fear. In what ways does fear impact your life? It has had a big impact on my life, holding me back for much of my life. And now that I'm living my second life, I'm creating it, doing all I can to let fear not have any impact on my life at all. I used to fear ridicule and rejection and judgment and disapproval. Because I feared disapproval, I lived my life for other people, wanting their approval. I feared that people would judge me. This goes way back to that when I was in high school and I became a Christian. I wasn't raised in a Christian family or religious family or anything like that. And I became a Christian. And I suddenly felt this fear to let anybody know that I was a Christian because I thought that they would judge me, that they would reject me, that they would ridicule me. And it's just kind of stayed with me through my life. Sometimes we fear what other people will think of us. We fear losing friends, and we fear losing the love of our relatives even. Why do people, for instance, want to live an ethically and consensually non-monogamous lifestyle and not willing to really divulge that and discuss it with their relatives, the people that are closest to them? I mean, their kids or their parents. Why don't we do that? Sometimes I've also been in my past, I've had a great success in business, but more recently I've had fear of having success again. And we sometimes allow that fear to hold us back from actually doing the things that need to be done in order to ensure our success. It's not hard to accomplish things that we want to accomplish if we just follow a recipe. And if you know what the recipe is, then just go out and do it. But sometimes we let success and our fear of success hold us back. For years I feared getting a divorce. And so I stayed married in a marriage that was like being married to my best friend, being married to my close sister, not being married to someone who I was passionate about, and she was passionate about me, and that we were just great on fire lovers. But I feared that if we got a divorce, what would people think? Would they think that I'm a failure? And so I feared getting a divorce. Feared losing my worldly possessions. If I got a divorce, my God, what would happen to, we own business together, and some of those businesses we'd have to close down, and what would happen? It could destroy me, it could ruin my life. And I feared losing my worldly possessions. Sometimes fear is having a fear of actually having to do something rather than just talk about it. Have you ever felt that kind of fear? I have. I can go on talking about the many ways fear impacts us if you allow it to impact yourself. I've certainly allowed it to impact me. But fear only has the impact that you allow it to have on yourself. And as I started out saying that, I feel like I'm living my second life now. I'm 60 years old, and I plan on living well past 100 years old, and have the great health to be able to do that. And so I feel like that with the life that I have right now, that I'm really living my second life, and I am not allowing fear to have the kind of control in my life that it has had. And I hope that you will allow me to share this conversation with you so that maybe I can help you to not allow fear to have that kind of a impact and control of your life, because you simply make up your mind not to allow it to have that impact any longer. It's your attachments to the things that you fear losing that is what keeps you stuck. It's like Joseph Campbell said, quote, "We must be willing to let go of the life we have planned so as to have the life that is waiting for us." Yes, I had planned my success. I had planned my life with my wife, the woman I was married to for so long. All those things that I planned, and I just held so tight to them. I had attachments to them. I had planned the house that I was that I own. I had planned the things I was going to do, And sometimes we just gotta let go of those plans and allow not our fear, but allow our love and allow the energies of the positive energies of our life to come along and guide our life so that we can then create a new vision and have a new vision for our life. And that's what I'm excited to be living now. So I'm talking about fear today because fear is one of those things that heroes face their fear head on. And this is week 11 out of 12, this 12-week series that I'm doing on the habits of a hero, where every week I provide some content, some information about being your own hero, giving you a new habit for being a hero each and every week that you can focus on, and I'll be doing that towards the end of the video. And then I wrap it up by telling you a little bit about my nonprofit association and how it helps you to be your own best hero and being on a journey of being the best version of your authentic self possible. But let's get back to that question. In what ways and what areas does fear impact your life? You see, the way to take and conquer fear, and the thing I'm going to really challenge you to do today, starting now, is just to face fear head on and head straight into it. You know, in areas where you start to feel some fear creep up on you, then just take that as your challenge, as your signal that that's what you need to charge into. You know, sometimes, well, not sometimes, all the time, I make it a point of getting outside of myself. And that's how I don't allow fear to have a grip on my life. What do I mean by that? For instance, have you ever been out where, you know, you're maybe checking out some of the people going by, women or men, and you just, you know, you kind of want to just like salivate over these people, and you just like, oh man, that would be a dream to talk to him or talk to her and to go out with that person. You know, or I'd sure like to have a conversation about non-monogamy with that person. You know, in another video I talked about how when Kat and I are out, we oftentimes get into conversations with people about non-monogamy. And we find that even though they're living monogamous lives, that they really open up and they start asking questions of interest and of curiosity about what it's like to be non-monogamous. Just tonight, I'm going to be moving into a new house, another house I own. I own more than one house, but I'm going to be moving into here in Seattle. I'm going to be moving into another house I own in a couple months and selling the house that I'm living in now. And when that happens, I'm going to have a new neighbor. So tonight, I went over to introduce myself to the new neighbor. And the house is vacant now, and I'm slowly making some changes and getting things moved over and what have you. So I went over and I introduced myself to the neighbor. You know, and the neighbor, you know, she asked me about my life. She says, well, you know, I never see you around hardly. And I explained to her, because I just live my house I'm selling is just a couple houses away. And so, you know, I own two houses right next to each other. She's on the other side of me where I live now. And so I explained I live half my time in California. And so she asked about that, and I explained that I have, you know, a partner that I live with in California, and I have a partner I live with here in Seattle. And she says, oh, well, in my country, where I come from, it's traditional that the men, they have 4 wives. And but not here in the U.S. If my husband took and had another wife or a girlfriend, well, I couldn't handle that. I would make sure that he knew he couldn't do that. You know, and so I got into this conversation with her and also her 16-year-old son, a delightful young man. And I got into a conversation about ethical and consensual non-monogamy and allowing yourself to enjoy the things in life without limitation and without restriction. And so often, though, we fear these kinds of conversations, and I just headed straight into it. And so that's what I challenge you to do with your fears, you know, is to open up more conversations with people and then head straight into those conversations that you're afraid to talk about. You know, if you're, for instance, someplace where there's other people around, men or women, that you'd love to talk to, then just, if you have fear about doing that, just allow that fear to be your green light. So when you feel a resistance or when you feel fear, last week we talked about resistance in the video and what that was all about. And so if you feel resistance, if you feel fear, if you feel insecurity or anything like that, then push through it knowing that at first you'll be really bad at it. And even you might even fail and make a fool of yourself even. But with practice you will improve and you'll get good at it. And you just need to be fearless in those situations and those circumstances. Maybe that is meeting someone that you would like to have a date with and find out if there's any possibilities of that to happen. Or maybe someone you'd like to have sex with, Or even maybe you go to a party. I've been to swingers parties, and this is where the fear has taken over for me, at swingers parties, where it's like I'm afraid to go talk to someone that I'd kind of like to go have sex with. And it's just kind of has a way of gripping me if I'm not in the right energy, in a place of being, just having pure positive energy in my life. And so I have doubts and fears and insecurities, just like you do. But I do try to work on having my energy be that of pure positive energy and being confident and bold. And so in things like meeting people or picking up someone, like to have a date or sex, or what are some of the other areas and the things that you need to practice fearlessness at in your life, where you just feel those fears and you decide that you're just going to use those fears to be your motivation and charge into it. You can conquer your fear, and if you do conquer your fear, you will increase your confidence, your liberation, your freedom, and the love that you get from people you want to be loved by. Sometimes you fear rejection by the people you're loved by, whether that be your spouse, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your parents, your kids, and you fear all this rejection, and that holds you back in your life. It limits you and it restricts you and it holds you back in great ways because you fear that you don't want to be rejected or you don't want to be judged. I know what that's like. Been there for much of my life, many times. And so just go ahead and realize, though, that if they don't know the real you, the authentic you, then the you that they love, the you that they accept and they don't judge, the you that they don't ridicule, or the you that they don't put down, that you then that they know is a fake you, is a false you. They don't know the real you. And if they knew the real you and then don't want to love the real you, that's a choice they make. And that's not the kind of person that you want love from. I remember in a conversation talking to a man years ago, about 10 years ago, and he found out that I was non-monogamous, and he was laughing, and now he's non-monogamous himself, but he lived in fear, not wanting anybody else to know. Now I knew he's non-monogamous because his wife told me he is, and in fact his wife was looking for a girlfriend for him. And so the thing is, though, is that when he found out that I was non-monogamous, he just wanted to kind of make that kind of like a joke. We discussed, I talked with him about my girlfriends that I had in my life and about how many times that I like having sex in a week. And he looked at me and he says, "You must have balls the size of a bull." And he started making these jokes. And why people do these things, I don't really know, but I wasn't going to allow his jokes, his own insecurities, and having to then try to pull me down. I wasn't going to allow that to pull me down. And you don't have to either. Yes, I would like to have had his acceptance and his approval, but not if that meant that I had to be a false me and not to be an authentic me. And so his acceptance and approval when he found out the real me, and the fact then that he laughed and joked about that because he's himself is hiding behind the false identity of being monogamous when he's not, then, I didn't feel that losing that person as a friend, which I did. I didn't feel, and maybe because he felt suddenly threatened that, he had a very lovely wife, and maybe he felt threatened that somehow I was going to want her. because he has a one penis policy. She's bisexual, and being bisexual then, over the years, she's had girlfriends, and having had girlfriends, then she always shared her girlfriends with him. And so, but he would not ever really accept or allow her, his wife, to have a boyfriend. So it's called a one penis policy. It's good for him to be able to have his penis in many vaginas, but apparently for his wife's vagina to have many penises, that's not okay. And so when he made fun and ridiculed me, it just wasn't any big deal. Yes, I would have liked his acceptance and his friendship, but whether it be somebody like that, in fact, I was friends with him, had been friends with him for several months, had been to his house many times, he'd been to my house, we celebrated some birthdays together, and so it was just kind of a funny, weird thing how our friendship kind of ended because I allowed him to know that I was non-monogamous. And so for you might lose some friends. I've known many people who have lost friends, best friends, close friends, and also relatives that won't have anything to do with them anymore because they're non-monogamous. But they go on and live lives that are so much richer and so much happier having new friends and having other relatives, or maybe not relatives, and then building an intentional family and having new lovers and friends that really you can be genuinely you, and they love you and care for you for who you are. That's the kind of friendships that we all want. That's the kind of relatives that we all want. People at work that know us. Why do we feel that we have to hide our lives, our authentic lives, from them? And so the habit that I want to challenge you with this week is to practice each and every day. Practice fearlessness. Now, whether it means then talking about non-monogamy, or talking about your non-monogamous life, or your interest in non-monogamy, or whether it means to practice fearlessness, and that there's a person that you've been wanting to go out on a date with, and so you just go ahead and to open that door. If you need to have some opening lines, go on to YouTube and just ask, how do I open the door to someone I want to ask out? And so there's lots of information out there, lots of great people to follow out there to give you some skills of building up your confidence and just going out and doing that. Fact is, you can put into a YouTube, I want to know how to get laid. And there's some great videos out there that give you great tips. And so my habit for this week is to develop the habit of practicing fearlessness. Fearlessness may be just something about your work, that you feel like you're deserving of a raise, and you just need to go in and talk to the boss about a raise. Now, fearlessness does not give you the right to feel like you can be in control of someone else. When I go out and ask someone that, would you like to go and have sex with me? It doesn't mean that that person has to say yes. They may say no, and I have to respect that, and that's fine. But someone else then, because I'll build up my confidence, and I'll build up my self-esteem, I'll be my own hero, and then I'll go on and I'll ask someone else, instead of letting fear grip my life and say, no, she wouldn't. Before I even ask, no, she wouldn't do that. She wouldn't have sex with me. Or going out on a date. Or, I don't have a boss, but if you had a boss and you feel like it's time for a raise, go and just have a talk. That person can always say no. If you have a wife or a husband that you need to have a conversation with about non-monogamy, or maybe even about divorce. So have those conversations that you fear, and do those things that you fear. Develop the habit of practicing fearlessness. Well, thanks a lot for spending time with me today on this video. And I want to tell you a little bit about Non-Monogamous Lifestyles Association. It's a non-profit association that I co-founded, and we help sexual and relationship freedom seekers be their best self, living a life increasing in abundance, liberation, and freedom. And if you want to know more about Non-Monogamous Lifestyles Association, go ahead and click on that link down at the bottom in the description of this video. And also then make sure you go ahead and give this video a like and subscribe to our channel. Yeah, I also really enjoy your comments, so if you have any comments to make about how you liked the video or that you didn't like it, then go ahead and comment that too. But if you have questions for me, then that's how I really like to hear from you with your questions so I can respond back to them. But go ahead and do all that in the comments field down there below as well. And thanks a lot for watching this video today.